Hi there, and welcome to the Jane Anderson Show. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very special guest today, so I can't wait for you to hear our conversation and to be able to share with you some of her wisdom in being able to grow her practice. So, our guest today is an ISO systems implementation auditing and professional development expert. She is a trusted mentor to ISO professionals and highly respected trainer in the quality management industry. She has over 25 years experience and has supported hundreds of professionals in their career growth, from internal auditors through to successful consultants. Her clients span across multiple industries, including telecommunications, education and training, trades and government sectors. And she is the owner of a company called Auditor Training Online. She's a triple certified contract auditor, and she brings that real world experience and practical insights into the ISO industry. She's known for helping ISO professionals transform their technical expertise into leadership success. She's also passionate about creating streamlined, effective systems, and her unique perspective comes from experiencing all aspects of the ISO industry, from internal auditing to quality and environmental management. And she now has a successful business as an owner and mentor. Please welcome the one and only Jackie Stapleton. All right, Jackie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jane.
Jackie, you have a really interesting journey coming into this space as a thought leader and expert in your field. You have come from not just establishing yourname.com and your personal brand, but you had another business coming in. And are you prepared to, would you like to share a bit about your journey and how on earth did you end up here?
Yeah, I don't know how I got here, but yeah, for sure. So I suppose looking at it from the perspective of looking back now, I suppose generally I do provide a complete pathway for ISO professionals, so International Standardization Organization. So that's my niche, is the ISO industry. So I provide that complete pathway for leaders in that industry. So that pathway includes the actual recognized training, which was my first business, which is still my current RTO. You know, that's been around for 13 years. But when I first started that business 13 years ago, I thought that's all there was to it.
Right.
I thought all people need is a certificate, some knowledge about ISO standards, and off they go into the world and they'll be successful.
Right.
That is not the case.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, the training is an absolute foundation for it.
Right.
However, it soon became apparent that there was a gap.
Okay.
And the gap is, I've done my training, I've got my recognized certificate.
Right.
But then it's sort of like, oh, now what? I'm on my own.
Right.
What do I do with this? Who's here to help me to apply the knowledge that I've taken away from this course? That is a huge gap. And there's training providers out there that really, I don't think have recognized it yet. So keep it a secret.
Okay.
But that's where my practice, JackieStapleton.com, is moving into filling that gap. So it is a new concept. But it's more about that application and really supporting ISO professionals to succeed.
Right. And it's interesting because if we think about your expertise, we've not come just from, like, what you're talking about is the technical aspects of it to be able to do the role. Then there's sort of the aspects of, okay, now I get the technical aspects. How do I lead in this space? And then there's also the infrastructure that sits around a leader, the type of organization that they're in. And I know you've been talking a bit about now that even bigger evolution in the industry around organizations and their sort of approach and mindset to ISO. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah, and you're spot on. Because in my book that I've written, and it's currently with the editor, so it should be ready in about, I hope, before September. That's
Wow.
the goal.
Okay.
I talk about that exactly, Jane, because there's 3 points. There's knowledge,
Yep.
which I've talked about. That's your certificate. Then there's application. What do I do with it? But I think the most important thing is the third one, and that's the soft skills. So your communication, emotional intelligence, like how to, I suppose, work with people, bring them along on the journey as leaders, because there's so many like quality managers, HSE managers that say to me, but nobody's listening to me.
Right.
Like, I'm telling them what to do.
Right.
Why aren't they doing it?
Right.
Yeah. So just because you have the qualification and you've built a system doesn't automatically mean that you've built that trust and credibility for people to come on that journey with you. So this is, I think people just think as an ISO professional, yeah, you're a technical person, you understand the standards and how to apply it. But they do in this leadership journey, 50 to 60% of people get stuck in this, what I call a learning loop.
Right.
Learning, they just go round and round. Okay, no, nobody's listening. I'll do another course. Nobody's listening. I'll do another course. The big jump is moving into being a practitioner.
Yes.
Once you're there, the hurdle is not the system, it's the people.
Right.
And that's where that soft skills comes in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all the leadership, culture, knowing the context, framework we're in, the value of ISO, how is it perceived in other people's
Absolutely.
minds, where is it valued in the organization? Because all that context is what's holding back the influence that they have to get the outcomes they want. Is that right?
Absolutely,
Right.
and that is the biggest challenge, because people don't realize that is something that they actually need to
Yes.
implement. I'm working with someone at the moment who's just got their ISO 9001 certification,
Okay.
and she's having this exact issue. Like,
Right.
congratulations, they got
Yeah.
certified. However, the struggle is, oh, why aren't people listening to me? Why aren't people coming along with me? And I think for us, as more, us meaning ISO professionals, we are very technical and, I suppose, more tangible. With knowledge, it's about the standard and the clauses. We can see it, we can read it.
Right.
Application, which is the second stage, is, well, I've built a system to meet the standard. I can audit it. I can see whether it's conforming or not. But then we get to these soft skills and it's like, what? I can't see it, or I can't touch it. What does that mean? What does that look like? So, it's something, Jane, that doesn't happen overnight. It's not like, oh, I'm going to punch out this procedure. It's going to meet clause 9.2. I'm done.
Yes.
Yeah, it's something that you have to be consistent with. You have to read the social cues, change how you're asking questions, change even your, relative positions and body language with the person. You have to be able to read the room and then consistently adapt. So it does take time.
So you raise a really interesting point for those who are going, okay, because the ladies who are typically listening to this podcast are going, okay, so she's come from this journey of, you've obviously had experience before your training business in ISO in organizations, then have come into the training space, delivering certified training, now evolving, so still having that brand, then the Jackie Stapleton brand. So these are people who are, well, first question is, what made you realize that you needed to, bring that personal brand aspect and not just do, a coaching program under the training brand? You made a conscious choice to build out this coaching program that you've started, and that will evolve even in itself. But what made you decide to or realize that that needed to operate under JackieStapleton.com?
Definitely. You probably made me realize that.
Sorry.
Because I think when I first met you, I was actually quite confused
Right.
about where that sat, and I knew that this was something. I knew it was something, and I had tried to blend it with the training side before,
Right.
but it sort of got a bit confused
Yeah.
with the recognized training.
Yes.
And I suppose under your guidance, you I suppose made me aware of what you call clusters, and then you build your programs from that. And then I could actually see that vision then, that so Atoll Auditor Training Online,
Yes.
that's a cluster. That's
Yes.
the training, and now these programs are separate. So I felt it fell under two reasons. It fell under my, I suppose, more personal brand, because it is a one-on-one thing.
Yes.
But it's more, I suppose, for me, it's a way of separating myself from Atoll.
Yes.
And, my long-term vision is, well, Atoll is self-sufficient. My focus now, and what I absolutely love doing, is a focus on quality and leadership
Yes.
within that space. So this, by separating it, it allows me to focus separately on that
Yes.
practice, and
Right.
include coaching, include speaking as well. And
Yes.
so it really, while I do sort of cross pollinate between the two, because
Yes.
we've got common database, common prospects.
Mm.
I feel it sort of sits in a different bucket, and especially, Jane, because it is a new concept. There's
Mm.
nobody else out there that does it
Mm.
yet.
Yes. Yet. And you are not only leading the way, but I love that your message is lead the standard. Like you're actually leading the standards in the standards industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you are walking your talk of what, your clients need to do. You're being who they need to be.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's something I've added onto that, and that's around my book as well. Anyone can follow the standard, be the one to lead
Oh,
the
I love it.
standard.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
It is very exciting. And you've just come off doing 2 days at our content creation boot camp, and you have attended the boot camp previously and one coming up. So tell us about your thought leadership and how you get into, unpacking these books and what
Oh,
how all that works and your process. Everyone has a slightly different process about how they do it, but how do you unpack your thought leadership and expertise and wisdom so that you can use it
I've
for
got
your growth?
goosebumps. I got goosebumps thinking about what I achieved last week. And just as an aside, my brain has kept on going, and I've added, I think I'm up to my fourth or fifth additional pink sheet
Right,
to the book, because it just keeps coming. But
right.
I was actually sharing this with a client of mine this morning, who's an ISO consultant.
Okay.
And I was explaining to her, I think I'm up to 90 something pink sheets, which
Okay.
I
For
turn
those who are
into.
going, just quickly, for those who are going, what is a pink sheet? What is she talking about? So for those, if you haven't come across it before, we use a methodology that Matt Church has created. Matt Church has created a program called Thought Leaders Business School. and I worked with Matt for many years. And so we use that methodology to unpack our thinking and create assets of IP. So if you're going, does Jane make you make the bed, 20, 50 times when you work with it? No, I don't make your bed
No,
with
I never
pink
thought of
sheets.
that.
So sorry, go ahead. I just
No,
quickly
that's all
jump in.
right. So really, there's two things going on in my head at the moment. I just want to share that I was
Yeah,
letting a client of mine know this morning that, just recommending she needs to get herself out there more. She's
right.
got some great thought leadership herself, but she's
Okay.
questioning herself. And I said to her, look, I reckon probably the first 30 pink sheets that turned into art newsletters, they were just the low-hanging fruit. It wasn't
Yeah,
until I got maybe to 50 or something that the real stuff started coming out. And something
right.
that's happened, I'm now up to my 4th article in the Quality Business magazine that's issued by the
Wow.
Australian Society for Quality. And
Okay.
they didn't start picking up my articles until about 6 months ago. So they were probably not all that good initially, but now that I'm really starting to unpack stuff,
Yes.
it's getting noticed. So
Wow.
that's something I really recommend. You've just got to start. And it was the same with when I first started making videos. Like the first 30, were probably rubbish, but you have to go through that to get to the good stuff.
Yes.
But with regards to the content creation boot camp, that planning is really important that you
Mm,
get us to do. Like what are the ideas or topics that you're covering? And
yep.
because I knew I was doing it, in the context of a book,
Yes.
I mapped out, I think I had 53 initially,
Yep.
and what sort of the chapters would be. And of course, that changes a little bit as you progress.
Yes.
And then, yeah, my philosophy, and I shared that at boot camp. Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Um,
Last week it's gone fast.
yeah, I know. I just you just get each part some sort of idea or
Yeah.
concept down. Okay. And after a while, it flows.
Yeah.
Okay. And as I said, I've actually added more since, because your brain becomes more aware of the
Yeah.
thoughts that are going on in your head once you start getting all of this amazing stuff out of your
Right.
head. And it just sort of creates more. It never ends.
No, you've got a real rhythm. I could see it because, on the second day we were talking about how do you get it to connect? And because otherwise it feels like fragments of ideas. But
Yes.
it's easy to get caught up in trying to make it perfect on the first run and getting it to all fit. So you're going, oh, it's actually just getting the fragments or getting the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle and going, it's all, I think they sit in that corner and those all look sort of like they sit there. But, being able to not try and make all the pieces fit perfectly the first go, isn't it? Like, I think
Yes.
watching you has been and I think you've got frequent fly points at our boot camps now, because the first, like you said, the first ones that you did were just all the pieces of the puzzle, just get a few pieces down. But this time we really saw that change and shift for you where you went, right, I'm still not trying to make it perfect. I think all those pieces kind of go together and I think they kind of go together. And so knowing when you get to, particularly if you're writing a book from the thought leadership, which is the most leveraged way to do it, is coming in with the book, is I think the shift you had on the second day was about, oh, that's the editor's job to tie them together. My job is just to get it out of my head, and it's okay if they're a bit scattered. We're not polishing yet. We're just getting it
Yes.
down. Yeah. Was that,
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
that was sort of where you got to on the second day. And then it just sort of, once you had that, then you were right.
absolutely. And as you mentioned, I did share my concerns on day 2 that I was worried overnight that it didn't make sense and I still couldn't see the big picture. But now, yeah, I can see it, especially because I've got the other ideas, and then I go, okay, where does this fit in?
Yeah.
And then I go back to that structure and go, okay, I think it fits in there. But as you said, the editor will probably do an even better job than me. I'm too close to it. And something you mentioned, the very first boot camp I did, which was probably a couple of years ago, I still remember my 52 ideas were all about ISO 9001. It was still so technical. I
Right.
was still stuck in that knowledge
Yes.
section. I was
Right.
still, my brain was still stuck there.
Right.
Like I wouldn't, that's not thought leadership.
Yeah.
Like it's just making the technical stuff maybe a little bit easier to read.
Right.
Okay, I can see the benefits, but that was the first and only thing that I could think of. But now that I've continued to extract my thoughts, it has moved to thought
Yes.
leadership.
Right.
And that's where it's getting the traction from external people to, one, like speak at events. So I've already recorded 2 today for online events. I'm doing another
Wow.
one tomorrow.
Okay.
And it gives us that contact
Yes.
content as well for our
Yes.
newsletters and internal podcasts, and of course external magazines in the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're really leveraging. So each of those pieces you're using is going, you're coming from the mindset of, yes, it's going in a book, but you have it on your website, you put it up, it goes out in your newsletter each week. It's now going into publications, so you're able to leverage that, tweak that, evolve it so it's more
Expand on it.
customized,
Yep.
expand on it. It's going into a keynote or a presentation that
Correct.
you're delivering. This is incredible leverage for you, Jackie.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Like it's, yeah, I do a podcast
Oh, the
as
podcast
well.
as well, of course.
So
Yes.
yeah, this morning I talked about one that I wrote a couple of weeks ago. So we're always a couple of weeks behind the actual newsletter that
Yep.
goes out. And that's really interesting because talking about it breaks it down even more.
Yes.
So yeah, I do not duplicate. It all starts with a pink sheet, then it turns into a newsletter. That's a blog on the website. That's an email. It's a LinkedIn newsletter.
Yep.
Our marketing ladies grab the content from that and that social posts, and it just evolves.
Amazing. And I love how much each one is leveraged. Just saves you so much work and you're really optimizing each piece, aren't you?
Yeah.
And Jackie, what advice would you have, for someone who might be listening to this and they're thinking, oh, Jackie's such a rock star and I'm so not. Look at her. She's just got all these great ideas and I don't know if I could do that. I'm not sure if what I have to share is good enough or if I've got something to contribute. It's all been said. What else could I possibly add to the conversation? What advice would you have for someone who's listening to this really, feeling like I'm not sure if I could do it?
Yeah, that's interesting because it's easy for me to say, oh, just do it. But I think the first thing I think of is be brave and take that first step. There
Right.
are a couple of things, and you need someone, I think, to support you and encourage you, like a mentor or a coach to encourage you that you can actually do it. And I remember something that you mentioned to me early in the piece, and I think, no way, I can't do that, Jane. That's ridiculous. Like, no, I'm not capable of doing that. But it's that consistency and persistence. You've got to take that first step. Okay.
Right.
And I suppose that aligns with my model of that, it's application. You've got to be brave enough to put yourself out there and take on, you will make mistakes, but that's how you're going to learn and get better anyway. But I think for me, it is being surrounded by a group of people that support me. So, it's not just, I suppose, women with influence. It's my husband, for instance. It's my sons. It's my work colleagues at Atoll. So you need to surround yourself with these positive people, because if you have a support network around you that is negative, it really, you still question your worth. And until you actually start doing it and putting yourself out there, as I mentioned before, you're not going to get to the core of what you've got in your head. Everyone is unique. And I know, Jane, you have this, is it Harvey Spencer quote?
Harvey Specter, that's from Soup.
That's it.
Yep.
What does he say?
He says, anyone can do my job, but no one can be me.
Yeah, and I love that, because yes, we, some of us, there's other people, there's other ISO professionals out there, we all do the same, but we don't. We're different people. We have different perspectives. Sort of go out and make your unique mark on the world.
That's such great advice, Jackie, because that does come up a lot, where they go, well, there's so many ISO experts, so many leadership experts, there's so many people that do resilience or mindset, or, why would anyone work with me? And this is why you've got jackiestapleton.com.au, because they go, well, I like how Jackie does it. I can do, the version of, Bill Smith or Mary Peters or, whoever, but I just like how Jackie does it. I like her version. I like her perspective. I like her and all that self-expression that you bring. If for those who are listening, if you haven't been onto Jackie's website, have a look at Jackie's photos. I'd love to ask you this, which is around all the elements of your brand. You've done quite a lot of work around, delving into some of these corners of who you are and your brand, and pulling out those unique attributes or aspects of who you are. And you'll see, if you go to Jackie, even if you go to your socials, your Facebook, LinkedIn, you'll see this beautiful brightness and expression that Jackie has. Are you happy to share a little bit about the work you did to be able to sort of, that's deep work, but it's popped. It's just beautiful, Jackie. Are you happy to share some of the work you did to work out those aspects?
Yeah, that's actually interesting, because particularly in my industry, it's very male dominated. Okay. It's even, a workshop I attended recently, I was the only female ISO auditor there. I was gobsmacked.
Okay.
So as a female in that industry, and it's normally a bit stiff as well. So there's lots of try and be politically correct, like older gentlemen with cardigans with leather patches on their elbows. And, the dress color is grey or brown or, and that's not me.
No.
But I tried, I suppose, initially to fit into that box, but it was never comfortable for me.
Yeah.
And so I did do some work with a branding expert. That was Rachel Dunn from Girl Director, who also helped me with my video presence as well many years ago. And so she helped me to identify the colours. And I've always loved bright colours personally, but I didn't think it was appropriate for the industry I was in. I was hiding.
Yeah. You're playing safe. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought, if I hide and stay under the radar, no one's going to pick up that I'm not actually this ISO professional that wears grey. You know, I love rap and hip hop as well.
Yeah.
So completely different to this image that is portrayed around ISO professionals and auditors. So
Yes.
Rachel helped me to stop hiding visually, I suppose. And we went we went on this course. It sort of was unexpected. The outcome was better than I expected on, you know, photos, and I think I got 37 reels out of it. She's very good at getting my story out because I was more comfortable by then. But can I share the feedback that I still get from that?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's from women and men. I get messages on LinkedIn, and you know, women in this instance say, "Thank you, Jackie, for giving me permission to be who I am."
Right.
One lady said, "I have now updated my website and I'm going pink." She
Great.
said, I hid because
She,
I thought I had to fit in
yeah.
with the men in this industry, but you've given me permission to be myself. And then I suppose the males, I suppose it stands out, but they're saying, "We love your perspective on this. You've got a different take on this." So that aligns not only with the visual element,
Yes.
you know, putting some fun back in and making people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the key thing. As ISO professionals, we're not the quality police. We're there
No.
for them to succeed.
Yeah.
You know, it's a collaborative
Yeah.
process. So being comfortable in who you are and being yourself makes that whole process for the people you're working with more
Yes.
comfortable as
Yeah.
well. So, you know, it really does feed into your entire, I suppose, brand persona, how people feel comfortable with you.
Yes. Because you're working in a space where, and as we all are, but particularly this is you, your clients have, there's a lot of vulnerability that comes with a business and showing you where we're at, and we've got to meet these standards for compliance and those sorts of things. But their fear, I guess, in your industry is the fear of judgment, the fear that, like and then like you said, the police, that you're coming in on this authoritarian sort of approach, but whereas this is totally flipping it and saying, I want to work with you. Let's do this
Yes,
together.
yes,
It's far more inviting. It's far more,
yes,
and we're going, well, auditing, like you said, has this perhaps, oh, who wants to do auditing? Like that sounds really boring. But then you get the total opposite in your personality and your expression of who you are, and going, oh, well, okay, well, I could work with this person or I could work with Jackie. Who's going to make this more fun? Who's going to make this more
that's right.
interesting? Want it to be, I don't want it to be boring and painful. I want to work with someone who's, and, I remember, I don't know who said this, but, you know, I remember working with it was a meeting planner, conference organizer, and I was spoken at an event, and I had someone come up to me at the end of a conference, and they said, "You know what I love? I love that you love this because I don't. I'm
Yes,
so not good at it." And you just exude this incredible joy out of the work that you do, and that's what they need, people who are that enthusiastic about it, because they go, this is why we need you, because we're just so not good at
oh,
this. And we
yeah,
need someone who is more enthusiastic about this concept than we are, because
yeah,
you're having to lead them. You're having to inject that energy and enthusiasm, and that they can get a result. They don't want to have to carry this. They need someone to carry the lead
yes,
here and go,
yes,
it's okay. I've got the energy to do it. And so I
yes,
think your branding, your messaging, everything is about, let's do it. Like, let's get into it.
yes,
It's not like, you will blah, blah, blah. Like this is, this can be great.
yes.
I think you
It's
really
exciting.
exciting. You brought that, which is the total, and that's, I love Sally Hogshead's work around the fascination profile, and you go, that's fascinating. That's fascinating to really see your personality and how that comes to life. So tell us, Jackie, so you're working on your book, but you got a couple of books in the pipeline this year that you're working on, or maybe,
Yes.
or I'm not allowed to say that.
No, I will have, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I have the one ready.
Yes,
That's I'm starting to work
with
with
the
the
editor
editor
now.
next week. I think we
Yes.
have our first
Oh,
meeting.
that's
So
exciting.
that's,
Okay.
yep, so that's with my Lead the Standard book.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to work on at the June boot camp is my next book, and not quite sure, it's around high performance quality culture.
Okay.
And that will be released sort of in line with the new revision release of, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit geeky here, ISO 9001
Right.
2026 revision, because, drum roll, it has an emphasis on leadership and top management, sort of the term they use in ISO standards, about creating a quality culture.
Right.
So I'm going to release that second book in line with the release of that revision. So
Amazing.
I now know I can get that ready in my boot camp in June. So I'll get that ready, and that will be released the year after, because I don't want it out too soon before
Yeah.
the standard. I want it to sort of align with it
Yeah.
and really sort of get on that sort of marketing bandwagon, you could say, with the standards. So they're my big plans, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, it's really moving into this production mode,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah.
I love creating this content, and
Yes.
I love talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
It's so good to be on the other side of that fear of being able to, start to get to the good stuff. I love what you've said about um, doing, you got through the first 30 pieces of IP, and then you started, it's like the onion, isn't it? Like you got to peel
Yes,
off all those outer layers, but where you're
yes,
at now, you're starting to get into those real inner layers and seeing the opportunity to keep your message, which is around leading the standard. You're seeing that this is where you're now turning into almost the quality futurist, which is,
oh,
so seeing, well, here's where it's going, and
yes,
you're not behind, you're up there leading with it to say, well, because this is what it is. And as you said, this is like, well, how on earth what's the application of that, like that look
yes,
like? So you're now coming in your category as a thought leader expert in quality. But now, I love what Matt Church talks about, where he says thought leaders are motivational speakers, they're futurists, and that particularly those two things. So now you're starting to take not only what you know, but now into the future. This is where we're
yes.
going, taking the lead on the conversation. And I just think that that's, you're just, as Seth Godin says, he says, we're waiting for you to lead us. Everyone's sitting around waiting for someone else to do it. Is someone going to do this? I'll just wait here till someone wait and tells me. Everyone's waiting.
Yeah,
And I love that you've gone, well, I'll lead. I'll step
yeah,
up, because that's no one else wants to. And you're continuing to really reap the rewards, Jackie. It's so
yeah.
exciting to watch your journey. And
Thank you.
so for those who, if you're following along, jump onto Jackie's website. You have a newsletter that people could sign up to, Jackie,
Yes.
obviously on there.
Yep.
Want to have a look at your book that's coming soon. So if they sign up there, they can keep an eye on it there as well.
That's
Um,
right. We do have a landing page. I don't know if we've got it up on the website yet, but it
okay.
will go
Put
there.
it
Oh,
up.
and if you sign up for the newsletters,
You'll hear
you'll
about it anyway.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, terrific. And any other final words of wisdom for
Oh, don't put me on
advice
the
for
spot.
those who might be listening and thinking about taking this journey and not sure
Yeah.
whether they could, have something to contribute?
Yeah. Everyone has something to contribute. The first thing I thought of is be brave, take that first step. I know that a lot of you are sitting there going over in your minds, oh, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. And I know because that's what I did for years. I had a little notebook and I'd write down, okay, this is what I want to do. These are my ideas. And then I think of something else. And I probably sat on that for years, my little notebook of ideas,
Right.
while I was on salary, still working, which is
Yeah.
fine. You're gaining experience. But yeah, my first thought is be brave. Okay, take that first step. If you need to create like a portfolio career and, do a little bit, I don't hate to say on the side, but start dipping your toes in
Yeah.
and getting yourself out there and broadening that experience and really surrounding yourself by people that support you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic advice, Jackie. You are, when I think about for where women are in this type of work, women like yourself are at the prime of their career. You've come through, all the years, you've got the battle scars, you've got, all the bumps and things along the way, and you've come into this space of your expertise and wisdom now. And, for those like yourself, when you're at this age and you've got this amount of experience, is that there are people going, where can we learn? Where can we find out how can I get the shortcuts so I don't have to go
Yes.
through, this pain. So I
Yes.
love that, and I always really think, I don't know about you, I go, you're just warming up, you're just getting started. So
Yes.
it's like
Exciting.
a new stage, it's almost like a new career, and to be able to create it the way I really admire you in the way you're creating it, the way it works for you, and you're choosing your journey and your version of what a thought leadership practice looks like. So, congratulations on your success, and I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see these books come out. You just got to come back and tell us about it. Remember us all when you're famous.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jane.